record button, dude.
I guess we're recording.
Yeah, good. Wait, but why though?
Welcome back.
Whoa.
Welcome back, people.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Hey.
Good point. We need. Okay. Freddie, intro. Go.
What's up, yo? Thanks for putting me on the spot. We got Henry, Ken, Ernesto. I don't know if the boxes go the right way, so whatever. I'm Fred. Welcome back to Left Turn. It's Friday. What day is it? Are we gonna say the date anymore? No.
Just another
Quiet.
day.
Hush, hush.
Just another Friday.
Just another day.
Thank you for hanging out with us. Welcome back.
Yep.
What are we gonna talk about today? Why are you wearing Jaws? What's Jaws?
A movie
Well, obviously it's a movie.
from the 1980s. I don't know what year though.
I think it's 80. I think it's like 79 or 80, something like that.
The year that you were born, probably.
That was a long time ago. I don't know. So the story behind this shirt is we were cleaning out my son's drawers, clothing drawers, and this shirt didn't fit him anymore because he's much taller than I am. So he prefers to wear larger shirts now. So I get all his hand-me-downs.
It's called upcycling. They call it upcycling.
I like
It's
that
an in
better.
thing. It's in thing.
Totally. It's vintage.
Oh, what's that?
It's vintage. It's vintage
Well,
used. Yeah.
For sure. But it's not that vintage
by the way,
because he wasn't around, right? Like,
Actually, no, it is. No, actually, it is.
Oh, dude.
For the record,
Henry, I think you're on Spectrum Internet. That's my guess.
no, he's
Something
like
like
in a
that.
canyon. He's gonna get lost. It's
Yep.
gonna.
He's gonna get
Remember when we were you used to be able to say like, "Oh, I'm driving through a canyon. I can't hear you." And you just hang up the phone. That's what
Yeah.
he's doing.
He's about to hang up on us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say that to my wife all the time.
I'm going through the tunnel.
Is that still a thing though? Is that true?
Does your phone still cut out in a tunnel? Or are there antennas in there?
I think they still cut out.
We need to
What,
ask
does
this-
it cut like on the tube to the island? Does it like cut out?
Yeah, that tube. I know you lose radio.
Because it's underwater, right? Like,
Yeah, you go pretty deep.
Wait,
I've never
island?
tried staying on the phone throughout all of it.
what
I
island are we
think
talking
it does get cut out. It's deep enough that you get cut out.
so if you recall, Ken lives on Alameda, which is kind of like a little island off of Oakland. So there's only so many ways in and out. There's multiple bridges and one tunnel. And so you're like, the tunnel goes from pretty much Oakland, Chinatown into one end of Alameda. And then there's like multiple bridges that go across. And so
The tunnel goes underwater.
yes,
or-
not through
Are-
it. Yeah.
Are there
Because, like,
sharks in that water?
So like in the bay, we have like the whole bay, and then Alameda has like an island in the bay, and then that's the way we get to it.
Wait, you
Yeah,
live
the
on an
tunnels.
island?
Yeah, it's an island, and there are only bridges and that one tunnel that you can get through into the island. So the crime rate is really good because crime's afraid of water, and all the crime is actually forced through these really tight entryways, so we can guard it really well.
Huh.
you
What
know,
about sharks? Do you do those? I'm really concerned about sharks today.
Yeah, sharks don't care about rules, so sharks come through.
you know, for the first time, we actually have two North Cal and two SoCal people.
Well, I didn't know why you didn't go to his house. But,
Yeah,
you know.
why, dude? I'm heartbroken.
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm done.
I have other applications, okay, people.
Yeah, and now you guys are fighting for Wi-Fi and bandwidth. That's terrible.
It is.
Sure, it is.
Yes.
But that's the way it goes. But you know what? Two NorCal, two SoCal, so it's okay. So the battle's on.
It's balanced.
When does internet get better? That you don't have this Wi-Fi issue. Come on, tech people.
It's
What's your
better
thought,
now
Ken?
already. What are you talking about?
Ken's Ken,
Wait,
what's your estimate?
like hours during the day when it gets
No,
better?
like when does it get better? Like how many more
Oh.
years and then we're like, no problem. This
Yeah.
I mean it's already been 1,000 times better, but
When we actually rebuild our infrastructure seriously and lay down like, fiber lines, then we will actually do that. So I'll put it this way.
You're old school. You're old school already. What is this laying down fiber, man? This is
Okay, fine.
satellite.
Yeah, but that is so new. I have to see it and see it stabilize.
It already has.
Okay, can you
it
subscribe
down,
to
Henry?
Starlink right now?
what's
I
it
don't
down,
think so.
Henry? What's it down? How fast down is it?
They're going up to 200 right now.
I have no concept what that means. How fast to watch, I don't know, a movie. Hey, you have to
Yeah. So 200 down.
So Ken's doing calculation already in his head. See?
I'm gonna try to figure out
It's
if you want
perfect.
to.
See, I gave him a math problem. It was awesome. It's just like whip it up.
Okay. Oh wow, that's not that much. So,
Wah, wah.
all right. So for 4K Ultra HD, you need 25 megabits per second minimum, but we recommend a connection of 50 to
But you
cover
need
all
200.
scenarios.
So you can do
Yeah.
200.
So 200 is fine.
See?
Really? How long does it take to buffer? Buffer.
Oh wait. Okay. So you gotta take this into account. That's 50 megabits per second. Realistic, not theoretical.
That's
so,
the one pipe.
Yeah. Like when Comcast or Spectrum says, hey, you like fast internet 50 Mbps, that's not what you're getting.
Right.
That's what you're buying.
Yeah, because I think I'm paying for 300 down here. And I want to say I measured 120.
Is it hard?
150.
Do you find that's enough for you to like? Because you have multiple people at home working using the same bandwidth, right? It's like an interesting problem because when obviously going into an office, not going into an office, and stuff like that, kind of affects all that. How's it been?
It's maybe about 2 months ago, it was pretty bad. It would shut down, I don't know, 2-3 times a day. It was really, really bad. But come to find out, we had multiple I installed multiple splitters to run cable to the back room. And I didn't know, but you lose signal with the splitters, right? So that interference was causing the router to go down multiple times a day. So I had Charter, I think that's our company, come down. They redid the whole wiring, and now we haven't had an issue. It's been amazing. So yeah, to answer your question, yes, it's fine, and we don't have cable either, so there's just nothing but streaming here.
Yeah.
Cut the cord. Cut the cord.
We did.
But be careful about splitting, right? That's what you're trying to tell the folks out there. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't have the right kind of hardware, don't split. You're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah. That's what happened to me. I hurt myself.
Multiple times, it sounds like.
Multiple times a day. Exactly.
So you had how did you figure out that was an issue?
The technician came in and he did some black magic.
But you know what though? I mean, at my house, I'm only running 100 both up and down. Now at this house sucks. But because even though they're paying like 300, they're sharing bandwidth with next door neighbors, which sucks.
How are they sharing with next door neighbor?
Because unless you're on dedicated lines, if you're on broadband, which is like cable modem, like like Cox, Charter, Comcast, you're sharing with your neighbors. So unless you're on a dedicated line like AT&T fiber and so on and so forth, or DSL, that's a dedicated line to you. So even though I'm hooking them at like 300 down, my up is only like 1.5.
Oh wow.
That's the reason why I'm jittery.
That pained me. Like it physically pained me, Henry.
Wait, how do you look this information up of up and down?
So you can do a lot of speed tests. The easiest one, just go to fast.com and you will know. Make sure you click on the one that has a little question mark on right next to it. It will tell you what your up is. They will only tell you what is down because that's what's most important. That's what everybody's looked after. But because we're all working from home because of all these Zooms and conferences, becomes important now too.
Yeah, that's actually an important fact to point out. Most people don't know this. Even when you think you're purely downloading something, you're always sending something back. So there's always an up, no matter what kind of stuff you're downloading.
Yeah, so make sure to disconnect from the internet. They're always stealing something. Always. A little bit of your soul at a time.
Yeah. That's the reason why they're gonna say, "Hey, do you like me to track you? Yes, no, yes, no." Right? That's how it is.
Nowadays, it's pretty cool. I see that a lot. That's changed dramatically over the last few years of like disclosures of how much they track. Asking your permission if they can, sell your information to advertisers and stuff. It's pretty important now. Like we always joke about it. We've been looking at software for I don't know how long, right? And we always pretty much skip the terms of service. But now, as education has given you more insight to if you didn't read it, they are like selling your stuff. So, just.
So here's a question. Here's a question for everybody though. Do you mind them tracking you?
Yes.
Why?
Well, you all can go first if you don't care. I'll tell you why.
My question. So I ask. Okay, fine. Ernesto, go first.
No, yeah, let them say. I'll go the negative, but you.
I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I think.
Why don't you mind?
So two reasons. One, which isn't a really good reason because it still sucks, but targeted advertising, right? I'd rather get advertising on something I am going to buy, right? Like something that I'm actually interested in, opposed to something that I'm not. However, targeted advertising isn't always the best because when you buy that pair of shoes, you keep getting the advertising after that, right? So that's the first reason. The second one, specifically for Google, right? To me, I have seen the value in it, right? Maps, photos, like the Photos app, like I use, everybody's on it, right? I share it with everyone. YouTube, TV, got all that stuff, right? Like, so it's not necessarily free. That's what I'm paying for, right? For them to track me. Right? It's so far, knock on wood, right? It's worked out. If they turn evil one day, so be it, right?
Yeah, I think that the thing about the targeted marketing is kind of funny. They're trying to solve the problem, right? Your exact complaint. When you do buy those pair of shoes, somehow they have to figure out that you did buy them so they can stop sending you those ads.
Right.
If somehow they could track you more, then they can solve that problem.
Freddie's face. He's like, I'm giving up.
All right, so I only see it. I see it a little differently. I understand the possibilities. I understand that. Wait, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. What was I saying? I understand the possibilities. I understand the performances. I understand like things that you can do. Hell, we work for a company that we track people so that we can advertise correctly to them. That part, I mean, I get all that. But I also remember the internet is not a place if there's like just a marketplace. And so also knowing that when any of your information out there, or letting yourself unknowingly be a target of things, that is an important thing to distinguish, right? You should always know, like, the reason you should always know that whatever information you put out there is, technically, people will know, but any information you do put out there can also used against you, be used
So
against you.
let me ask you a different question then. What information do you care that they're tracking you?
Doesn't matter. Does not matter. The point being, so I want to go backwards even further. You want to make yourself a harder target or a harder person to be taken advantage of, so that they skip over you and just go to the next
You're
one.
not being taken advantage of.
Sure. That's what you keep thinking. That's what you keep saying. But who's in Congress, testifying for their company saying, "Oh, we didn't take advantage of you." What? What just happened over the past few years? Just as an example. I'm just the broad example.
We make our own decisions. Though. We make our own decisions. I mean,
doesn't matter. They made, but again, I was gonna go back to what we just said. I was just said earlier. Terms of service. I barely read it before, so just check off so that you can start.
Okay.
How do people read it? So literally buried in stuff, because you didn't read it. You didn't say, and if you wanted to even use their services at all, there's no option of you saying, you know what, I want to use services, but I don't want you to give you this part. So it was like all or nothing at the time.
No, perfect. So what I'm trying to get at is I want to know what is the dark side, or what is the dark information. I mean, I can think of one or two that you don't want them to know you're doing. So I'll be pointing it out and say, Ken, do you care that they know that you have two kids, one's a son, one's a daughter?
I don't care. I think general knowledge I am fine with, because it's already out there. A lot of this stuff, like there's so much stuff that even before the internet is public record, right? People can look you up and find shit about you all the time. So for the trade-off in my mind is the convenience. I think Ernesto was hitting on that. Like, okay, I'll give you my data if you make life more convenient for me.
Yeah, but what are you giving away for convenience? Security.
Well,
overall.
No.
Overall,
So that's,
convenience and
there.
security.
Yeah.
It is like ends of the spectrum, at least how I see it, because you've now given like the keys, but then any nefarious thing.
Perfect. So Freddie, give me a key.
They got your key.
Give me an example.
Okay. They have the key to my shed, but not to my main house, right?
So, yeah.
I think there's a difference, and we can get to that, right? There is a nefarious side of data collection and what you are afraid of. And I can honestly say, for most of the stuff that I do, go ahead and use that, make my life easier. Great. Now, there are some things where I don't want people to know, so that they'll be able to steal my identity, right? Get loans off of my name, like stuff like that. And those are the things that you do not want to share ever, but that's not what we're talking about, because the companies that you knowingly sign terms of agreement with, and it's okay to use their free services in trading, your data for them, those are known entities. It's the unknowns that have nefarious reasons that they don't even let you sign a toss. They're just going to steal your shit and steal your credit, right? I'm more afraid of those situations rather than the known larger entities that everybody is afraid of.
Tell me. I think I could probably only point to like one company right now that will actively hold your stuff and fight for your privacy. And the other thing is, how many companies have had their database broken into?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Okay, wait.
First of
just,
all,
just
Freddie,
like
I had to make a comment. When you doing this whole hand thing and you're like, tell me,
That's exactly
really,
what
it
I
creeped
was
me out.
thinking. This
It
was-
creeped me out.
No, and here's I mean, look at the background, right? He's got like the fireplace going in the background, the little light. It's like he's about ready to take over the world right now.
tell me.
Like super villain,
Yeah.
straight out of Oakland.
Freddie, you just need to put on clown makeup and you'll freak out the SoCal people right now. That's fresh in my mind because I just edited the latest episode. A lot about clowns.
But getting back to your point,
I
though,
did
mean,
forget about the clown episode. What the hell?
sure, no. Hey, if you haven't catch a clown episode, please click right here.
Yeah,
Put
yeah,
that
there
link
you go.
to yourself.
Oh, you just made Ken's job even more difficult. He's got to time.
He
take a
points to a
timestamp,
random
but-
spot. Put it over here.
Hey. I'm getting better. You guys watched the first 10 minutes of the last episode. I did some shit there and you might like
Dude,
it.
spot on. I really dug it. I really dug it.
Oh, but so
Yeah.
I mean, no, but we're getting back to the topic.
Henry really wants to drill on.
Yeah, he does. He wants an answer.
No,
What's that?
because I feel like everybody's so keen in on the security stuff. I mean, I'm like, seriously, what is the information that your people want to
Have
hide?
you ever had your identity stolen at all?
It hasn't been about identity.
Have you ever had your identity stolen at all?
No.
Okay.
So I have fraud happen to me, but I was able to stop it.
What's that? But you were able to stop it. What
Correct.
happens when you can't? What happens when you have to recuperate that stuff because you have to like retroactively pull stuff back because it's too late.
Sure. I go ahead, Ken. He wants to say something. He's like,
I want to say something. I like, okay. So here's
I'm just
the
throwing stuff in there. I'm just throwing,
quick
I'm just
example
throwing
of
logs in
something-
the fire. Sorry.
there's a quick example of something you can recover from. So I actually went to a restaurant, gave them my credit card, paid the bill. And then the next day that card was being used in like halfway across the country to buy shit. Okay. That stuff happens. But you can recover from that because you can call the credit card company and dispute it. Everybody do that. Pay attention to your credit card statements or charges every other day. That's what I do. Now, on to like the whole notion of getting your information stolen, your identity stolen, all of that. That happens regardless of whether or not you're sharing your information or not, because there are some of your data, like the credit bureaus, you have no choice. Your data is in those systems. And guess what? In the last couple of years, the biggest hack that happened is one of those. You never really signed a toss or actually agreed to give them your data or not. You had to do it if you want to apply for credit for anything.
So you should just be okay with it. You're just it's okay.
Well, here's my defense.
That's
No,
what I'm trying
no.
to say. That's okay. It's fine. You didn't sign it. I mean, it happened to everybody, so it's cool. It's okay. It's already out there. It's cool.
Okay. Chill, my friend. Simmer a little bit. We're going to be okay. This is the way I look at it. I equate the possibility of having my identity stolen in like a credit bureau like that, where half or 3/4 of the country, right? People have their records in that platform. And that platform, if it gets split wide open and gets stolen, I feel better because I'm in the masses, right? That's okay if several hundred million people's identities got stolen, fine. It's a larger systemic problem that will get covered and remedied as a larger systemic problem. The one-offs are the ones that scare me. So I look at it the same way I look at global warming. I live on the coast, all right? If sea level rises, my house is screwed, but so are all my neighbors. California is screwed. It's a problem for the masses. People will fix it as a systemic problem. I'm not concerned.
Do you have a canoe or a kayak?
No, but I know a friend with a dragon boat.
Nice. You should get at least like a little raft. So you'd be like, honey, we gotta go. It's just like pumping away.
No, I think I think that there's a lot of data out there. There's definitely people can use the data to use it for the evil, and I'll give you the perfect example of one, right? So if you imagine that
Henry, before you tell us what it is, can you do this with your hands?
I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Start doing this. No, imagine it's like I know Freddie's been buying some cigarettes, so that means that he's been doing a lot of he smokes, so that means that he has a bad health. That means when he applies for my health insurance, I'm going to jack his rate up. Now that's an evil thing, right? To me, that's something which is the data that's being misused for different bad things. So in that regards, I mean, that's why when it comes to its personal health, is very different than personal finance. So I'm going to make a distinction on that.
Can I add a bit to that? So first of all, if that were true, then it's kind of okay. It's actually the right thing, right? Because well, if Freddie smokes all the time and he's buying health insurance and he doesn't tell people that, he's fucking over the other people in his group.
Thank you, guys. I do not smoke cigarettes. Okay. Jesus.
However,
what is wrong with y'all? I don't smoke cigars.
However,
Jesus, what is wrong with y'all? Jack up my insurance.
Same situation. Okay.
You see, this is how I got Freddie into all this. See, this is all part of the master plan.
We're not going to talk about Freddie smoking cigarettes, okay? So let's just same scenario, right, Henry? You find out somehow that Freddie buys a lot of marijuana, and okay.
What is the difference there? What are you doing to me, dude?
Wait, why are you using me?
Why don't you use someone at other party, please? You're just like throwing me on the bus everywhere.
All right.
Just because, okay, look, and I'm dead serious. Like, just because I don't want to give away more information than I deem necessary, what is wrong with that? What is it that I want to make that as a minimum? Like, because I don't want to be predicted. Like, yes, to you, that's all convenience. But to me, it's like, you know what? There's a creep factor, right?
100%. Yes.
Right. And so to me, how deep do they want that creep factor on you? And how much do you want those things to follow you all the time? It's if I look into something once, why should I then be peppered about it 10,000 times? If I'm just curious about it once, then I have to find some way to eliminate it from my, search algorithms and everything else to wipe it, just so I'd be like, I want a clean slate, please. All right, go again. Because again, we started with the internet as a internet finding thing, not a advertising platform.
Sure. So it
totally different world when we started, right? So I'm just going all the way back to the beginning.
if you have something like, you're looking for baby carriages, then be like, oh, Freddie, you're getting to be a dad, and is that something that you're worried about?
No, but look what happened in that case. So Target, I think it was I forget what the story was, so please don't get me too wrong, but the father was getting all of a sudden advertisements for baby stuff and stuff like this, and he was like, well, I don't get this, my wife's not having kids, we're just having these. And then finds out that the daughter's pregnant, but the daughter didn't tell the dad but then whose privacy is that, and who's so that's just one case. That's one case. Another case would be stolen identity. I'm going to go back to it, is that, yes, people can steal your identity. They can find out who you are, go do whatever. But the amount of exposure and risk you put out is much bigger if you don't guard yourself.
Okay.
So it's
I'll ask the people of the family. So Ernesto and Ken, do you guys care that internet is tracking your family, not necessarily you, but your family? So Ernesto, you're tracking your kid.
Again, I think my general answer is very similar to Ken's. It's their exposure. I try to limit the exposure to try to secure as much as I possibly can, right? I limit as much personal identifiable, is it PPI, right? Information, right? As possible, right? But they all have a Gmail account, right? A couple of them already have devices that track their location, but that's again for my convenience, right? So that when my son is with his friends, I know where he's at, right? And he's aware of that. And I told him, like, listen, dude, like, it's just in case shit hits the fan, right? Like, I'm not constantly tracking where you're at, right? Can I get onto their accounts? 100%. I can see all of their browsing history, what they've looked at, everything, right? Do I do it? No, I don't. But I have the ability to do it, right? So to answer your question, in a nutshell, no, I don't necessarily care because I think in their near future, it's going to be right 1,000 times worse. So like, why not begin to prepare them on how to actually think about that future, right? Like, just careful about what you post. That, like, just simple things like that, right? Like your comments, your pictures, retweets, like all that shit, right? Like amounts to something. So just, I had this conversation with my wife a few years back, right? Like it is important for them to begin to get aware of like what their digital footprint is, right? So no, I'm hopefully using it as a lesson for them.
Yeah, I think that is the key, Ernesto, when you said it is prepping them for a future to come, which is in many ways not really within our control easily. So what I do with my kids, the same thing we mentioned here, which is, I think, Freddie, you said it. Whatever you put out there on the internet, it's out there. It'll stay out there for the world to see. So just think of yourself 10 years from now when you're applying for a job. You need to be okay with them being able to find that part about you and bring that up as part of your interview. So that is the preparation and the guidance that any parent should tell their kids about and warn them so they are knowingly getting to a situation that they understand. Now, I just realized that we started out as a NorCal and SoCal thing, and I already gave up my NorCal buddy, and I feel so bad. And Freddie, I'm sorry, dude. So I'm gonna wheel that back, okay?
And he's just trying to raise my insurance rates. I was like, what?
Wait, so does that mean you're gonna push Henry and I under the bus? Is that
No.
what, like, are you prepping us for that? Oh, okay, cool.
Are you-
I was like, wait a second.
All I'm gonna say is this: there is a creep factor that at some point will cross anybody's line, right? We just have different thresholds of what they are. And I think that is okay. And so people need to at least understand where their creep factor is and then what other services they're signing up for, where it approaches that. If you have that level of clarity and you can control whether or not you want that service based on that, then I think we're in the clear. I look at it the same way as I look at creepy clowns. They're creepy, but I have a high tolerance for creepy clowns. It does not creep me out. But certain people I know have a very low tolerance for that. So I get it, Freddie. I'm with you, man.
Who are you pointing at?
That was a tough one because I don't know.
It's down in the
We can be
comments.
all different
South.
squares looking at our own.
Down south.
It's down in comments, guys.
So yeah, check out our episode about clowns.
Why? I don't know. I thought the indecent proposal one was,
No. Here's no.
especially because
So-
you get to set up somebody, you like let them go,
Sure.
like, throw it out there, reel it in.
A millionaire clown approaches you and tells you he wants to sleep with your wife.
Now you're mixing episodes up. You can't.
And you're like, wait, are you gonna do it with the makeup on?
What?
oh my
That's-
god.
Okay, we're getting too far to that. No, but here's an interesting thought. Does it really matter what somebody said 5 or 10 years ago? Because I feel like a lot of things has happened now recently. These people start digging in because internet is forever, as we all know. And they start starting to go, well, you 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you said this.
Politics and cancel culture.
So, so going back to just letting your stuff out there.
No.
Let's say you said something really bad on what can you hit on way back, like MySpace, Friendster, like way back, right? Is that like the
I had MySpace account, so come on, it's okay.
No, before that, it's Friendster was the first one, right?
I had a Friendster account too.
Wasn't Friendster the first one? The first like social
Might have
media?
been. I didn't have a Friendster. I had a MySpace.
MySpace, dude. Tom. Everyone was
everybody
friends with
knew
Tom,
Tom.
right?
Wait, is
They call
MySpace-
Tom like the good guy because he created this cool social network where everyone could do
He's friends with everybody.
customization, and then he was friends with everybody, and then didn't profit hugely off of him. He just like left. Good guy CEO.
Yes.
So I think, Henry, for the most part, I think people are relatively safe. But there are certain circumstances. There are a lot of, I'll give you an example, instances of, this is really on white people. They do that blackface shit and it comes back up, right? And then that can take down a career.
Well, you
I'm
should have
not-
taken them down when they first did it. Sorry.
I'm not going to
you
weigh
shouldn't have
in
been
whether or
doing
not
it
it's
at all.
right, but that's an example.
But should you be held accountable for it, even if you did it in the past and never, I don't know, atoned for it?
Henry, you can go first.
No, I'm broken up a little bit about this because I feel like so if people have retribution, meaning that they feel bad and feel sorry for it, and I think it's okay, right? And I think that we all have done stupid things, or we all done stuff that I don't usually use the word regret very much, but if you feel as though they should, oh my God, now I realize I shouldn't have done that. That's the two separate things, right? I mean, I'll go even to the extreme, the other extreme, which is like, oh my God, there's some indecent act that I did. It was on film, and then we put it up on the internet.
Oh, hey, isn't
Did,
that
did
like?
he just confess what he posted on
Wow.
MySpace?
No. I think he's talking about So there's like Oscar buzz and all that stuff, and then some director and like I was reading this article, and the director who also starred in the movie, right? The co-star, he had her have oral sex with him, like in the actual movie, and then it's like borderline.
Wait,
like a French movie, I think?
borderline oral sex?
No,
Or-
it was like actual oral sex.
Oh, then what's
I
the
don't know if you
borderline?
What is borderline? Like,
I don't know. I was getting, which part of it was borderline?
I'm gonna bring this one back in because I think Henry mentioned something that I think is really important, right? Like, even if in the heat of the moment you say something that is, borderline, right, or completely inappropriate, if you're able to actually feel a sense of regret, right, then I think there's a chance to try to kind of flip it over, right, and maybe begin to forgive the person. But I think it's got to be genuine, right, opposed to where maybe you tweet something that just is completely, left field, and then you get all kinds of shit and heat from the internet and right to cancel culture and all that, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, right, I didn't mean it. I think it's got to be genuine, but I think nowadays it's really hard to distinguish, where that level of authenticity really begins, because then you can't really judge somebody's like, yeah, I really did mean to say sorry, right? I shouldn't have said that shit.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So we as human beings are made up of tons of mistakes, wrong decisions, regrets, remorses, just being assholes all around in particular moments. And then we grow and learn from that. Our culmination of who we are today is made up of all those mistakes that we made in the past. We learn the most from our mistakes. And that is okay. I like what you're saying about really who you are today is more important than who you were 10, 15 years ago. But the tricky thing is like, how do you measure that? Whether you're a public figure or maybe just amongst your friends or your coworkers, how is that measured? I think it really is your track record, right? People around you are probably the people who know you the best over time will likely be the best judge of your character over time. And so I think it's great to have friends that you can connect with to kind of check yourself from once in a while, make sure you're not straying back to the asshole path. But in the public space, it's very difficult because people will use that shit against you and nobody will ever bother to find out your track record as who you are today. Nobody wants to take the time, and likely nobody has the time. So it is a snapshot based on a perspective that somebody wants to portray about you. And that's the tricky part that I think we need to solve for at some point.
How do you not let that narrative drive you and you drive your own narrative? And how do you communicate that to your kids?
That's a tough one, man. No, actually, it's not. Actually, I don't think it's not, because I think something which Ken, you mentioned to me, which I thought was fairly legit, is that you always let your kids go out and make mistakes and do whatever you need to do, as long it is not life changing.
Yes,
I thought that was a fairly legitimate, way of letting your kids go about doing things.
Yeah, and let me define that, right? What are life-changing decisions? Having a baby, all right? Getting hooked on addictive substances.
Getting your arm chopped off.
Well, you can still recover from that. They make some pretty cool robotic arms these days.
Okay. I thought you were going to say it grows back. I guess it doesn't, right? It doesn't grow back.
One day.
Yeah.
And then lastly, where was I on? Oh, gambling. It's two of them are forms of addiction that's very hard to recover from. So gambling, addictive drugs, and having a baby. Those are on our list that we tell our kids all the time. Other than those things, yeah, go do it.
Even so how old are your kids?
Wow, that's a lot.
21 and 18.
Okay. So legally adults, right? But before that, if they would have came home with a tattoo or a piercing, we're not necessarily life altering, right? But fringe, maybe in some places.
Oh, wait, what places?
Well, no, like tattoo, like for instance, a tattoo, culture-wise, like
culture-wise, right?
Some cultures look differently upon tattoos than other cultures.
Oh, you meant like a tattoo on their face?
No, any tattoo.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Culturally, there are tattoos on the face that are appropriate. It's like Maori people and stuff like that. So let's not jump on that just because they have a tattoo on your face, okay? But yes, if it's like some crazy ass thing, like all of a sudden you got a spider like just on their eyeball.
Right. Exactly. So my question is more culturally. Thank you, Fred. Like just more like your home. Where do you land on? Where would you have landed, right? On if they showed up with a tattoo?
Yeah. So we have talked about tattoos. So one of those things we I would say a tattoo is not a life-changing decision that they made. However, there is a certain amount of weight to that. And that is the permanence of such an action like that. Tattoos, for the most part, are permanent. You can get it removed, but that's also costly and painful to do. So when we would have discussions about the reason why they would make a decision like that, and we talk about reasons why they wouldn't versus why they would, and maybe drive at something deeper than what maybe we never talked about something that caused them to make that decision. And that's a learning moment, and we can leverage that. But at the same time, I can tell you, as a family, we had loads of fun making fun of ugly ass tattoos that younger kids get. And like, dude, a tiny little rose is good, but a big fat, hot dog on your cab is like, dude, where's the class in that?
Actually, that's actually bringing up, and this is actually something that I always really wanted to ask, because I know that there's two of us here who have tattoos and two of us don't. I would love to understand, when did you get your tattoos and why did you get them? So go.
You bearded one. You can go first. I know it's you. I know.
He was naughty.
What are you talking about?
There's two of us who has it.
I was like, if I didn't recall seeing it, I was like, I know it's.
So yes, I've got this one, bear and forest, and then I've got a couple other ones, actually a few right here on the side.
That was smart.
Yeah, yes, they tickled a bit. So I've got my boys' birthdays tattooed on my side, and then I designed kind of like a triangle, just 4 different triangles. 3 of them represent my boys, and the main one represents me, right? So kind of just this side's all for my boys, and then just the bear. I like bears is the first one, but just kind of from like just from like a leadership perspective, just kind of like I appreciate the stoicness of the animal. I have contemplated about kind of doing a whole sleeve. And
what's your power animal? That's your
I know. Maybe
bear's the power animal.
Maybe.
You know your power animal.
Yeah.
That's a previous episode too.
No, and I know Ernesto respect bears, because in the last episode that I just edited, when we were talking about fear and Henry brought up the notion of a bear, like, would you be afraid of a bear? And Ernesto said, dude, it's a fucking bear.
Yeah. So, and then I think time-wise, right? I didn't make the decision on getting any tattoos until until a few months after my last son was born, right? So at least 4 years ago, right? So that puts me well into my 30s. But I understood to Ken's point, and this was maybe my parents, right, talking, right, is I knew the permanence of of tattoos. I always wanted one. I just wanted to make sure it was the right ones, right? Just to make sure they represented exactly what I wanted to say, right? Yeah, I think Oakland, you're next on yours.
Handoff. Good segue.
Yeah.
Speaking of segues in Oakland, there was one time Ken was there. Henry, were you there? We all as like a team building, we all had like segways that we took around Lake Merritt.
Through the heart of Chinatown and Jack London. That was a blast.
Let's see. My tattoo is of my last name. It is something that I got at the age of 30. I actually did a lot of stuff at the age of 30. 30, I don't know. I actually, at that time, didn't actually think I would make it to 30, only because I was in the military. So, like, when you're young and you're, like, going through all this stuff, you don't know what's going to happen. So, it's like, in my mind, white picket fence, whatever, all this other stuff. A lot of that didn't occur because you're just always working and everything else. But, yeah. So, like, when it came 30, it was just like, oh, I'm happy. And I wanted a tattoo. But I was always, like we all talked about, very mindful of permanence. Like, yo, you get this done, you can probably get it nice, like, sharpened up and nicer and stuff like that. There's some things that can get done but at the same time, we all seen like regrets instead of no regrets instead of no regrets, right? Like, yo, you spelled wrong, and make sure proofread. That's another thing, folks. If you're gonna do something permanent, make sure you proofread it at least a few times. Have someone else read it. Pass it off a few times, whatever. Just because it's one and done. So, let's see. I actually asked. So I just told my parents. I was like, "Hey, all right, I'm gonna get a tattoo. 30, so survived a war, everything else. What are they gonna say other than like, cool?" But I asked them specifically because I was trying to find the style, character style, and brushstroke, so that I would be happy with it. So because tattoo artists not going to know that majority of the time, it would be that you have to give them the image and then they can then transfer it. And so really, at the time, it was pretty interesting because at first I thought my parents would be kind of against it. My father was a little bit because in Asian culture or East Asian culture, we have, tattoos are normally associated with gangsters. So it's like, oh, gangsters get tattoos, well, I'm not a gangster. And, we also don't live there, right? We live in the US. My mom, I was like, oh, I like, here's a bunch of them. And I like the last one. She was just like all for it. I was just like, cool, whatever. If you're going to do it, I think my mom was just like, at least we're going to help you do it right. Right. Which I always love about my mom. She's just like, after I left the military is when I actually got my ears pierced. I didn't do that as a kid. I just did it afterwards because I'm free. I can now express myself how I want, do whatever I want. So, and then I got my ears pierced. My mom's like, you need bigger rocks. So I was like, okay. So it's just kind of, that's why it's just a funny part of it. So got the tattoo. It's on my shoulder. I'll show it. I wasn't going to because I wanted to hold my security. But anyways, so now when you see it, it actually is ancient Chinese. It's not. Most people that see it don't actually understand what the character is, and so I can write my name normal Chinese, simplified. I'm gonna say simplified. It's Chinese. I can write my whole name and everything else. It looks nothing like this. So even like it's if you come from certain parts of the culture, you can actually understand. Oh, this is a very old character. My father-in-law didn't understand what it was. And they're from other parts of China, so it's just to me it was like a really nice part to kind of honor my family and also be part of me. So
yeah, that's cool. It reminds me of in the Chinese movies, the emperors, they have a wax seal. Like if you get a wax seal of your family name, that's what I think it would look like.
Look, I'll show you what a wax seal looks like.
That's cool. He's got one ready to go. That's hella cool.
So the wax seal is a little different. It is my name, so it is different. Like I said, this was a long time ago we got this done. I asked for it, I think, the second time we went to Hong Kong. I mean, it's one of those things where I wanted it.
Is it registered?
In it? What? No, it's just, I mean, it's literally just done thing. So here, I don't know if the ink is still wet or dry, but we'll check it out. I just had it here. You're like, oh, talk about it. So it's pretty neat. Ink is this red thing. Oh, it's still good. You can probably stamp in there. The stamp itself, if you look real close.
Oh,
is that your power animal?
Yeah, this is my zodiac sign. So it's hard to see in the light. It's a horse on top.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Which is my zodiac character and everything else. And at the bottom, see if you see that.
Oh, it's your whole name.
Yep. I don't want to get just my last name. Come on, man. And so, so this is my full name. And then, so I've occasionally used it here and there. I haven't in many, many years, but yeah.
Dude,
so,
that's really, really cool.
It's funny that you just said it. I was like, oh, I just had cleaned up the area and I actually had the stuff.
Dude, if I had that and I were to ever go into a bank to sign a loan, I'd be like, oh, tonk.
It's digital signature anyways now. You don't even send me paper, please. You waste some trees? Come on, man.
That's awesome.
So I think two of us had tattoos. I think two of us have piercings. I'm assuming the other two don't. So
When did you get?
I got it on my left side.
But when did you put it in? Who did it? Did you like
Actually,
put ice on it?
No, actually, I went with a dear friend of mine, and I said to her one day, it's like, it was after it was a layoff, and then for the longest time it was doing a downturn of the economy, couldn't get a gig. I'm like, something got to change. So and I said, I always want to get her ear pierced, and she's like, let's go do it. And then so she and I, we went and do it. So,
where? But where? Like, where did you go?
Oh no, we just went to a mall. That's all we did. We didn't
Spencer's?
do anything
Claire's.
Claire's. I think it's
Claire's.
I'm trying to get to Claire's.
Claire's, that's
Yeah.
right.
Probably.
What Spencer's not do ears?
No, I think Spencer's is just I don't think they actually give piercings. I think they sell like all the stuff.
Like scary stuff. Bunch of that's all I remember. Just walking by Spencer's and being scared.
Did it hurt? And Henry, do you think it hurt? What did you think?
No, it never hurt, and everybody said, "Oh, it's gonna hurt, But then there's a lot of superstitious thing that all my mom was like, "Oh my God, what did you do that?" But I was like in the mid-20s, and then she was like, "Well, what are you gonna do, Mom? I'd like to get a piercing." So she said, "You're gonna ruin your fortune that way," and I'm like, "Okay, sure." So
How does that ruin your fortune? What's
I
the idea behind that?
have no idea, and
Wow.
I'll punt it to where this is the part where I'm like, I know I'm Chinese, but I don't know anything about that part of it. I'll smile and nod when I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. But you know what? It got me. I like my piercing, and I always ask, a lot of the girls say, "Hey, you have an extra earring? I'll wear it right now." That's a great pickup line if you ask me. And I still wear my wife's earrings sometimes just because she's like, "Oh, she can't find it." I'm like, "Oh yeah, because I left it here. Here we go." So it's all good.
Nice. So you got to tell your mom, like, Mom, I may have lost some fortune, but I picked up some chicks.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing is, my kids, both of them, got their ears pierced pretty early in their mid-teens. For my daughter, it was kind of like a rite of passage, right, for girls. My wife was really excited about that. Did all her research, found the best place in town that was safe and, clean and all that, and did that. But with my son, he just did it. Came home with an earring. And he didn't do that research. Probably at his friend's house who had a needle lying underneath the couch. And they're like, hey. But, I don't think we reacted negatively at all with my sons. We're like, oh, kind of cool. You sure you got it on the right ear? That was the only response.
Wait, what's the right ear? I mean, as long as it's decoration, as long as he's proud of it, it doesn't matter where it is. It could be a cartilage, could be a right side, could be a left side, could be both sides, could be all over the place.
Does cartilage hurt more if you have to pierce it?
Yes.
It's like, I don't know. Like, for instance, like I have a lot of Indian friends. They'll have like a ton all the way through, and you're like, dude, I don't even know if that hurt or it didn't. Like, it just, and it's just amazing that you can just that like that. Ernesto's gonna put gauges. Is that what they call them?
Dude, needles scare me. Like, the thought of needles. Oh, just terrifying.
But you have a tattoo.
God.
Is that your? Yeah. So then you have multiple tattoos.
Yeah, I get it. There's a little bit of I get that part. I really wanted that tattoo. I don't want any holes in my body that don't need to be there.
Wow. So you're telling me that if a nurse walks in with clown makeup right now, you piss your pants?
Yes. Yes.
So was it tough to get is it tough to get like your shots, like flu shot and stuff sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, well, I just got my second vaccine, right?
Okay.
That was nerve-wracking. Um, God, it's gonna be an embarrassing story, but I'll tell it anyway. One of the last times I went to go get blood drawn, right? I was scared shitless. I actually asked the nurse to use an infant's needle instead of an adult needle, which the gauge is way smaller. And she's like, "Are you sure it's gonna take longer?" And I'm like, "Yeah. I don't want to feel anything. I'm like, just, just." She used an infant's needle.
Does it make it worse because it's in there longer?
I didn't feel anything.
Oh.
So that was way better, at least for me.
So now we know what to ask for.
No. But it doesn't. I don't know about you guys, but it makes me feel weird because you can see stuff coming out of your arm. Right? You see
Stop
the blood
it. That just
gushing
gives me
out.
Wait, you look at the needle and the puncture
I would pass
like
out
when
dude.
it's happening?
Mm-mm.
I never do. I just turn away.
Especially when they pull multiple tubes, like they'll test you, pull it out and stick the next one in. You see the next one, you can see the vacuum being sucked out. You see the first initial.
Dude, that's different. That's like
That
right
is
here.
way
That's
too
very
much.
different.
That's way too much
Yeah.
detail.
Well, okay, but that's a different experience. When they're drawing blood, I'm drawn to because of go faster. Oh, look at that bottle fill up. Like you're kind of proud of that.
Don't fill it too fast. You'll faint.
That's true too.
And it slows down by the fifth on the fourth tube. You're like, we need to tap another one.
And if the nurse doesn't tell you why, you're like, what's wrong with me? No, but Ernesto, I'm kind of curious. Where does that fear of needles come from? Do you know?
That is a great question. If I had to analyze it, which is probably what you're asking for.
Yes.
I think I
don't just pull it out of your ass. Okay, I'm not looking for that.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think I'd have to tie it to my fear of dentists also. Like I remember being, I must have been, I don't know, 5 maybe, like, and having to go into the dentist because cavities, right? And like just getting it, what felt like shot after shot after shot in my mouth, right? Like, so I think like that's probably, if I had to guess, that's probably where it came from.
Is dentist like second phobia?
Oh, 100%. Yes, dude, 100%. Oh my God. Yeah, dude, my wife doesn't, like, I don't go with the kids to their dentist appointments because
You can't
I
even go to
freak
the
out
office.
and then I freak them out. She's like, "Oh, you're not going." And I'm like, no. This time I promise I'll be good. She's like, nope, not happening.
Wow. Do you all have any phobias like that? Ken, Henry,
Clowns.
clowns? No. Bridges?
Trying to think what
Height?
Tunnels.
I'm afraid of heights. That I
Like
am.
how high? How high is high? You're pretty tall, so
That's what I was
you're pretty
thinking.
tall, so
Like,
already
you're
skipped half of it. But how tall?
You get used to it over time, though, right? Being that tall.
Yeah. Completely different when you're up. I would say the roof of a second-story house, so about 30 feet. Anything above that, I start freaking out because it's the realization when you look down and you go, I could die.
I think no. So I will. I think that I will concur that a little bit because that I realized that I am not as nimble or as coordinated as when I was younger. And I feel I was like, I cannot make the jump or I cannot make the coordination to stop myself.
Who's talking about jumping?
You can combat roll off the thing. Just gonna do like the superhero, like laying on the knee.
Yeah, that was
gonna
parkour before parkour was cool.
Because I'm not as coordinated or as strong as I used to be. About let me say it that way.
Dude, I'm telling you, every year putting the Christmas lights up, gets more and more difficult and more scary because I have that same thought. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's not, I mean, single story home, right? It would hurt for sure. Could I die? Maybe, but I'd probably survive with a really bad injury, right?
Yeah,
So-
just one story, you could mess yourself up real bad.
Yeah, I did. This is I know that feeling, right? When you're deciding whether or not to risk it, like even hanging up Christmas lights. I know what that feels like. I hung up string lights in my front door, and what happened was I had to hook it up from the roof on the lower roof from my house and string it into the roof, the corner of the garage. And that corner on the garage is pretty high up there because it's slanted like this. And I had a really tall ladder that you can probably go up 3 stories, and then had a really short ladder, like a typical painter's ladder, right? And so I was like, I don't want to lift up the giant ass ladder just to reach that point in the garage. So I used a shorter ladder, the painter's ladder. Guess what? In order for me to reach that spot and hook the lights up there, I had to be on the top step of the ladder.
That's not
Do
OSHA
not
standard.
do that. Do not do that. So what I thought was okay was that, okay, I'm one step away from the top. I can barely reach it. So that what I can do is step on the top step and grab the corner of the roof. And then I use my right hand to hook it up. And it felt fine in my head, but the moment I did it, I was like, holy shit, this is not safe. And I had that feeling, the same feeling you're talking about, Ernesto, when you're hanging up lights. Like, this was stupid. I can seriously hurt myself. And I just like hooked it and then just hop back down. But yeah, I don't like that feeling. Whether at 30 feet or on top of a ladder like that, that feeling is no good. And I'm not even planning to jump off of anything like Henry would.
Well, okay. On that note, I think at this point, I think we're at the end of our episode for this time around. And please come back again and like and subscribe.
Yes. Buttons will start showing up now because expert editor, right? Getting better.
Good job.
I love
Good
it.
job.
All right.
All right, fellas. Everybody
there
out
is-
there, good night.